Hare Krishna. Just give me a minute. Let me choose. Um, Now I can share screen. To, to 131. 131. I do share the screen. Let me share the screen. Because I need to indicate the schedule. Vande Rupa Sanatana Rahu Shri Jiva Gopalako Anindra Goshyam Suresha Tattvam. Sukhatmanayena bhayam nirasya pramodya cha swapriya sangadana kathamritam samprati cha prapaye. Very nice expression. In the assembly of most eminent sages, the Lord dispelled my fear by explaining the truth through Shukadev, and the Lord delighted me by granting the association of his dear devotees. Now I shall help you drink the nectar of topics about the Lord. Munindra, Vasishtha Parashara Vyasa Narada Adayaha, Tesham Goshyam Anyonyam Vivade Stati. Many eminent sages like Vasishtha, Parashara, Vyasa, and Narada assembled to witness Parikshit's passing away. The word Goshyam, which sometimes means in a discussion, indicates that first there was some debate among the sages as described in Sri Haribhakti Sudodaya. Tena te Devata Tattvam Prishta Vadan Viteni Re Nana Shastra Vido Vipra Mita Sadhana Dushanai Harir Daivam Shivo Daivam Bhaskaro Daivam Ityuta Ala Eva Swabhavastu Karmai Veti Prathak Jaguhu. Having been asked about the truth about the Supreme Lord, the sages who were expert in many scriptures expounded a number of different theories. Each sage tried to refute the validity of what the others recommended for spiritual practice. They made various opposing claims. Hari is the Supreme Lord, Shiva is the Supreme Lord, the Sun is the Supreme Lord, time is the Supreme, man's nature is supreme, karma is supreme. Yadva, Samaje. The word Goshyam can also mean the assembly. Etena, Upadishtarthasya sarvasammatattvena parama nirdhara. Taken that way, it indicates that what Shukadev told Parikshit was irrefutably authoritative. because the great sages of the universe unanimously approved it. Yena Shukatmana Shri Vyasa Nandana Rupena Tattvam Paramartham Uddishya Tadvara Bhayam Nirasya Pramodhya Cha Iti Atra Dehatmadi Tattvopadeshena Takshaka Damshanader Janmam Marnadi Samsaracha Bhayam Nirasya Sri Bhagavad Bhakti Mahimadi Tattvopadeshena Cha Pramodhyeti Vivekaha. Through Shukadev, the son of Vyasa, Krishna himself imparted to Parikshit the essential spiritual instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadev enlightened Parikshit in two ways. By teaching the factual nature of the body and the soul, he removed Parikshit's fear, his fear of the bite of the snake bird Takshaka, and of the cycle of birth and death. So there are two types of fear that were removed. And by teaching about transcendental topics, such as the glories of devotion service, to the personality of Godhead, Shukadev filled Parikshit with joy. So this is the other way he enlightened him. He enlightened him by teaching him about the nature of the body, the nature of material existence, to remove his fear. And he also spoke about the positive glories of pure devotion service unto the Supreme Lord. And in that way, filled Parikshit's heart with joy. Sampratyapi Sri Gurudeve Tasmin Antarhite Antakalesmin Atisannihite Satyapi Sapriya Janasya Sangadana Parama Vaishnavyaha Tavasangam Tattva Tadware Tyarthaha. By the time Parikshit spoke this verse to his mother, his divine spiritual master had already gone away, and the time for death had arrived. But Krishna continued to favor Parikshit by again blessing him with the association of a saintly Vaishnava, namely his own mother. Parikshit therefore says to her, now let me serve you Harikathamrita, the excellent nectarian topics of the Lord. Nijam Kathamritam Aham Prapaye. Prakarshena Panam Karye. Tat Yajana Sangit Tadiya Kathamrita Rasapanas Yaiva Sakala Phala Sara Rupatva. To be able to drink Harikathamrita in the company of the Lord's beloved devotees is the most desirable achievement in life. Krishnam Pranamya Nirupadi Kripakaram Tam Samvardhya Vipra Vachanadarato Grihitam Swasyantakalam Nidamekam Manabruvete Prashnottaram Sakala Vaishnava Shastrasaram. I bow down to him, Sri Krishna, the reservoir of causeless mercy. Out of respect for the words of the Brahmana, I have accepted the appointed time for my demise. That time being momentarily delayed, I shall answer your question with one pointed attention by describing the essence of all Vaishnava scriptures. No. Nija Gunadi Kirtanam Mahatam Parama Anuchitam. Someone might suggest it inappropriate for a saintly personality like Parikshit Maharaj to advertise his own glories. It is absolutely inappropriate. Tatraha Nirupadhim Akaranam Kripapatrata Hetum Jina Ityarthaha Kripam Karavati Iti Tathatam. Anticipating such a doubt, Parikshit explains that everything praiseworthy he has said about himself is due only to the causeless mercy of Krishna. Krishna is the source of all undeserved mercy. If we see a generous person act kindly to someone undeserving, that kindness is but a small portion from the original infinite repository of causeless mercy. Yadva Nirupadi Kripa Ya Akaram Utpatti Padam Yadi Tasyapyanyasya Nirupadi Kripa Drishyate Sapi Tadiya Nirupadi Karunya Sagara Kana Amshabhuta Eva Ityartha. Ataha Sakala Guna Hinasya Nikrishtasya Mama Utkarshaganaha Ayam Tasya Mahimna Eveti Mama Guna Varnadikamapi Sarvam Tan Mahamahimeva Paryavasya Piti Nat Doshaha Atha Cha Gunaha Eva Iti Bhavaha. Thus Parikshit submits, even though I am the most fallen and unworthy soul, devoid of good qualities, many excellences have appeared in me. And these are nothing other than the other than excellences of Krishna. My speaking praise of myself, therefore, is faultless. This is the implication here. Is in fact good. Vipra vachane ya adarah bhakti tasmad hetoreva grihitam svikritam swasya antakalam dehatyaga samayam samyak vardhayatva etat antya divasasyaiva bahukala vyapakataya vrachim karayitva ityartha. These moments are supposed to be the last of King Parikshit's life, but somehow they are being extended so that he has time to satisfy his mother, who wants to hear the essence of the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ate ekamana ekasminneva tvat prashnottare mano yasya sah. So Parikshit now intends to fix his mind in answering his mother's question. Dehatyaga-kalina yogadi-kartavya pariharena avyagra-chittaha sannityartha. He is not interested in engaging in yogic practices and so on, which are recommended for performance at the time of giving up one's body. Akalo Vaishnava Shastranam Saro Yasmin. Tat Sakalanam Vaishnava Shastranam Sararupam. Idam Itihasa Dvara Vakshimanam Dhruve Padami. So he has decided to speak the essence of all Vaishnava scriptures. He intends to convey it through a history. Parikshit thus intends to give full attention to his answer, even at the cost of the yogic meditation he should perform while preparing for death. Shrutismritinam vakyani sakshat tatparyato yaham ya yabodhayit vaitat tvam santoshi tum kshamaha. I could satisfy your request by explaining to you the statements of the Shrutis and Smritis, both in their literal meaning and in their implication. Vakyani vachanani tatra kanichit sakshadvritya yathashuthartha vena kanichit tatparya vritya parampara paryavasanataya vyakhyaya artha abhivyanjanena vivritya etat tat prashnottaram tvam bodhayatva santoshitum kshamaha yadyapi samartho asmi iti artha. Certain scriptural passages need to be understood in their literal sense, sakshat vritti. Certain scriptural passages need to be understood in terms of their intended meaning, their purport, tatparya. So, following that, Parikshit Maharaj is actually capable of satisfying his mother by answering her question. One way to answer his mother's inquiry would be to systematically explain the authoritative philosophical statements of the scriptures. To do this, he would carefully have to discern which scriptural passages should be accepted literally and which need to be interpreted conditionally or figuratively to agree with what has already been established as real. Tathapi swaguroh praptam prasadat samshayak shidam atretihasamadote vyaktartham kathayam yamum. But I prefer to clarify the subject for you by first relating a history I learned by the mercy of my spiritual master. This narration will dispel your doubts. Atra prashnottari swaguro Sri Shukadevasya prasadat praptam amum vakshamanam prasiddham va itihasam kathayam. As an answer to your question, I will relate a history well-known history that I have learned, that I have become acquainted with by the mercy of my spiritual master, Sri Shukadev. Idrisham samshaya samshayan tvadiya sandehan chinati tam. What kind of history? A history that can destroy your doubts. अतः व्यक्तः स्पष्टः अर्थः अभिधेयः यस्य यस्माद् वा तं तत् वचनार्थाभिव्यञ्जकम् इत्यर्थः. So this will be very explicit. It will make things so clear. यद्वा क्रियाविशेषणम् इदम् आदौ इत्यनेन पश्चात् तानि वाक्यान्यपि कथयिष्यामि इति सूचितम्. Initially, he will speak this narration, historical narration. And then later on, he intends to actually bring in scriptural evidence, speak on the basis of that. That's an indication here. Vyasa never formally initiated his son Shukadeva Goswami, and Shukadev never formally initiated his student Parikshit. Nonetheless, the entire tradition of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in the transcendental Bhagavata line of disciplic succession rests on the foundation of the relationship between Shukadeva and Parikshit as guru and disciple. Parikshit will recount in his own words the essence of what he heard from his guru, taking care to present the literal facts in the most straightforward way. He does not want his mother to suffer any confusion or doubt. Vipro nishkinchanah kashtir pura prag jyotishe pure vasannagyata shastrartho bahut ravena kamyaya. Long ago, in the city of Pragjyotish, there lived a poor Brahmana. He was ignorant of the teachings of scripture and he hankered after abundant wealth. Pragjyotisha samyake kamarupa deshiye pure kaschid eko vipraha vasan mantram lepe iti dhriranvaya. In the city known as Pragjyotishpur, also known as Kamrup. This is in Assam, near Guwahati. There was a Vipra. He had attained a mantra. This will be noted in 3 verses from now. He was Nishkinchana, poor, Agyataha, Adhyayanena, Shravanena, Va, Na Vididaha, Shastrartaha, Swadharma, Acharanadir, Yena Saha, Parama Murkhaha ityarthaha. He was not acquainted with the teachings of Shastra, either through systematic study or by listening. In other words, he did not know about the purport of the scriptures, properly carrying out the injunctions of one's own swadharma and so on. In other words, he was extremely foolish. Etena tanmantrasya parama prabhavaha nirdishtaha. From this, there is an indication about the extreme power of that mantra, the mantra which would be referred to now, which he would receive. Idrishasya api sarvartha sampadana. Even a person like him would attain all goals, all desirable goals. Tatrapya devim kamakhyam shraddhayanu dinam bhajan tasya sakasha tushtaya swapne mantram dashakshar lepe madanagopal karnam bhojataivatam sadhyanadi vidhanadhyam pakshadiva mahanidhim. Every day he would faithfully worship Kamakhya, the goddess of that place. And when she became satisfied, he received from her in a dream the 10-syllable mantra for worshipping the lotus feet of Madana Gopal. The goddess also gave him instructions on how to meditate upon the mantra and perform various details of practice. The mantra manifested itself before him like a valuable treasure chest opened right before his eyes. बहुद्रविणस्य कामेया तत्रत्यां प्राग्ज्योतिष प्रवर्तिनीं देवीं भजन सेवमानः. So he was serving the deity of Kamakhya, who resided in that city, Pragjyotish. He served her with a desire to attain a lot of wealth. Krishnayaha, Satyaha, Satyaha Devyaha, Sakashat, Upadeshat, Ityarthaha. And then he received instructions from that Devi. When she became happy with him, Dashaksharam, he received the 10-syllable mantra. Charangi Sottaradanta Shuro Vamakshi Yug Dvitiyarna Shuli Shaurir Bano Balanujadvayam Athakta Ra Chatushkam Ityanena Kramadipikayam Uktam. This is the mantra which has been presented in a hidden language in the Kramadipika. Kramadipika is a famous book by Sri Keshava Kashmiri. Sri Madana Gopala Charanam Bhojam Daivatam Upasyam Yasmintam. And the worshipable deity was the lotus, for that mantra was the lotus feet of Sri Madana Gopal. Tasya Sri Madana Gopala Devasya Dhyanamadi Shabdena Nyasam Mudradi Puja Mudradi Tasya Vidhanam Vijihi Tena Adhyam Yuksa. He not only gave that mantra, he also taught him how to engage in the prescribed meditation of the mantra of that mantra's presiding deity, Sri Madana Gopala Deva. He also taught him the particular gestures which need to accompany such meditation and so on. He also taught him various gestures and so on, which are part and parcel of the worship of Lord Madana Gopal. Nanu Devi Bhajane Katham Kamasya Anyathatvam Putraha Sakshaditi Tal Labhe Naiva Swataha Akhilartha Siddhe. How is it that he served Devi and his desires were dealt with in some other manner? That is pointed out. He gave a treasure. He gave the mantra which can fulfill all of this Purushartha. This Brahmana lived in the northeast of India, in what is now the state of Assam. This city, Pragjyotisha, had been the capital of Bhaumasara during the time of the advent of Lord Krishna. The Brahmana had never studied the scriptures properly and had never heard a basic explanation of that message from authorized teachers. That such an unfortunate fool achieved all his ambitions is proof of the potency of the mantra he received. The 10-syllable Gopal mantra is defined in esoteric terms in the book Kramadipika, an old Vaishnava Tantra by Keshavacharya. Vedic and Tantric mantras to be chanted only by qualified persons who have received them through proper initiation. Therefore, when books discuss these mantras, special efforts are made to disguise the exact syllables of the mantra. Sometimes a few syllables are changed or inverted in the description, or sometimes, as in the Kramadipika's presentation of this Gopala mantra, the explanation is impossible to understand by those who are unfamiliar with the cryptic code being used. The Kramadipika describes the 10-syllable Gopala mantra as follows. Charangi Sottaradanta Shuro Vamakshi Yug Dvitiyorna Shuli Shaurir Balo Balanujadvayam Athakshara Patitam. The holder of the bow, Saranga, the upper teeth, then Shura, and the second letter conjoined with the goddess Vanakshi, then the bearer of the trident, and Shauri, and Bala, and twice the younger brother of Bala, and 4 more syllables. The deity worshipped by this mantra is Sri Madana Gopal, who happens to be the worshipful deity of Srila Sanatana Goswami. Kamakhya Devi gave the Brahmana not only the mantra but also the method for meditating on the mantra's deity. And as implied by the word Adi and so on, she also told him how to touch one's body to sanctify it with the syllables of the mantra and how to worship the deity through various means including appropriate hand gesture. How was the Brahmin's attention attracted away from his worship of Devi? Gopala mantra made such a vivid impression on him that he completely forgot his other religious activities. Devya deshena tam mantram vivikte satatam japan dhane chaya nivritto bhu leve cha hridi nirvritti. On the order of the goddess, he chanted the mantra constantly to himself in a secluded place. Gradually, he gave up his desire for wealth and his heart became satisfied. Devyadeshene tam mantram tatha prapya api parma agyataya swapnika bhramena tasya tan mantra jape apravgatyam alokya tadartham swapne eva yo devya punaradesha krita tenetyartha. Even though he received that mantra, because he was extremely foolish, he mistakenly thought, oh, that was just a dream, and he never chanted that mantra. Seeing this, Devi herself, again in dream, further instructed him, no, you must chant. So being impelled by the goddess, then he took up this chanting. Now, certain points to be noted here. He received Krishna mantra. Now we know that all Bhagavan mantras, all mantras which are related to the Supreme Personality of Krishna or his Vishnu Tattva expansion, they contain his holy name inside the mantra. But so they are called Namatmaka mantras. Mantras which are ensouled by the holy name. The holy name is the soul of such a mantra. Usually mantras contain various other elements. They may contain pranava, which is a respectful address to the Lord. Om. They may contain words like namaha, obeisances, and so on. In that way, there are other components other than the direct primary holy name of the Lord. So therefore, these mantras are called Namatmaka mantras. And then you have certain rare mantras like the Hare Krishna mantra, which is entirely nothing but the holy names. So you cannot even refer to them as mantras whose Atma is the holy name of Krishna. Because the entire mantra is nothing but the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is nothing but the holy names of Shri Radha Krishna. This is Nama mantra. The other is Namatmaka mantra, but this is Nama mantra. So to distinguish it, we sometimes refer to these as Maha mantra. Now, even with a Namatmaka mantra, when he constantly chanted it in a secluded place, which indicates that he could pay attention, he was focusing. His desire for wealth had disappeared, and he internally became satisfied. So this is the first symptom that one's desire for artha kama has to go away. And if this is the case with a Namatmaka mantra, how much more so would it be with the Nama mantra itself? The Brahmana was so foolish that he ignored the advice of the goddess and dismissed the mantra as the false creation of a dream. He then appeared to him in a second dream to repeat her instructions. Vastu tattvanabhityon yat kinchit paralaukikam sadhanam kila sadhyamcha vartamanam mamanyata. Ignorant of the real fact, he thought that something other than this mantra, something in the next life, must be his means of success and the goal of his endeavors. Vastutas, tan mantra japade, heya upadeya vastu matrasya va yat tattvam swarupam tasya anabhigraha tad jnana shunya. He did not understand. that in reality, the nature of the mantra chanting that he was engaged in, he did not understand what is bad for him, what is good for him, and so on. अतएव तन्मन्त्रादन्यत् साधनं तज्ज्ञानादन्यत् साध्यं च परलोक संबंधी किंचित वर्तमानम अस्ति इत्यमन्यत. And therefore he thought that there must be something to be attained in this next life, which is different from that meditation. And to attain that destination, I would need to engage in certain processes. And he did not understand that this very mantra is that process. Ayam arthaha, this is the point. Purvam paralaukika kritye apeksha eva nasi. Idanim tan mantra japa prabhavena jata. Previously, before chanting, he never even thought about his next life. Now, by the influence of this chanting, he began to think about his next life. Tatra cha devya mukhena tad japa phaladya shravana tan mahima jnanena tad jatirikte sadhana sadhye manvanaha tad sapekshu babhuve. Now, from the mouth of Devi, he'd never heard about the results of this chanting and so on. So, he was in ignorance of the glories of this process that was given to him by Devi. So, he considered that there must be some sadhya sadhana, there must be a goal and a means to attain that goal, which is distinct from this process that was given to him and the goal that can be attained by engaging in this process. But he began to think about it. Edadapi tan mantram mahaprabhava suchanameva. This is also an indication of the great influence of that mantra. Sraddha-rahityena-api tat-tad-artha sampadana. That even though he does not have sraddha, unbreakable faith, and so on, still all of these treasures have been given to him. Evam agrepya niyadapyukhyam. This should be inferred in the discussion that is to follow. Lacking discrimination, the Brahmana was unable to recognize the value of the mantra relative to other things in his life. His judgment of what to accept and what to reject was impaired. But by the grace of the mantra, his mind, previously uninterested in the next life, now began to turn in that direction. The goddess had withheld from him knowledge about the full power of this mantra, and so he was imagining other goals and means of success. But as we shall see later in this narration, the effectiveness of the Gopala mantra, even when knowledge about it is lacking, is evidence of its great potential. The mantra bestows all benefits even when chanted without faith or understanding. Again, I will go on repeating this point. If this is the case with a mantra which is Harinamatmaka, then what would be the potential of a mantra which is nothing but the holy name? If a Namatmaka mantra has so much potential, then a Nama mantra, how much potential would that have? Grihadikam parityajya bhramam stirteshu bhikshaya gato nirvahayan deham ganga sagara sangamam. He left his home and other connections and began wandering among pilgrimage places, maintaining his bodily needs by begging. Thus he traveled to the place where the Ganga meets the ocean. Bhikshaya, bhikshavaritya, deham nirvahayan, sharira nirvaha matram kurvan. So he begged just enough to maintain his body. This is because he began to think about his next life. When you actually begin to be focused on your next life, you don't take your current status of material existence too seriously, because you are interested in achieving that is relevant to your next phase of existence. Tirthe Adhika Pratigrahena Papan Nivrittir Vairagya Utpatishta Darshita. And apart from that, he wandered to various holy places. This itself indicates that he was not interested in accumulating anything and wanted to keep away from sinful activities. That's also an indication that he had already attained vairagya, detachment, internal detachment, external renunciation. Ganga Sagar Sangamam Gataha. He had gone to the place where the Ganga meets the ocean, Ganga Sagar. Tatra Prayanam Kritavan Ityarth. He traveled to this place. The Brahmana's chanting gradually increasing its effect. He soon gave up sinful activities and needless sense gratification and took up a renounced life. So these are all initial phases. These are all symptoms. So when Haribhakti manifests in our heart, these are the symptoms that we will experience. Vipran Ganga Tate Pashya Sarva Vidya Visharadan Swadharmachara Niratan Prayasho Grihino Bahun. There on the shore of the Ganga, he saw many Brahmanas, mostly family men, who were expert in all fields of knowledge and devoted to performing their prescribed duties. Bahun Vipran, Gaudan. He saw many Brahmanas, Vipras, Bengali Brahmins, Ganga Tate, Pathi, Apashya. He saw them on the pathway to the Ganga. Sarvasu Vidyasu Visharadan. They were expert in the various departments of knowledge. Vidya, as they are technically referred to. Shastokta Vishnu Purana. And these departments of knowledge have been mentioned in the Vishnu Purana. Anga Aniveda Shvatvaro, Mimamsa Nyaya Vistara, Dharma Shastram Puranam Cha, Vidya Hetas Chatur Dasha. There are the 4 Vedas. Then you have the Vedangas. So now the Vedangas are 6, the Vedas are 4. So that comes to 10. Then Mimamsa, then Nyaya. Mimamsa is what is called hermeneutics, the science of properly understanding the intended meaning of scriptural text. There are 2 divisions within Mimamsa. One is called Purva Mimamsa, given by Sri Jaimini to help us understand the Karmakanda section, the material section of the Veda. And another portion is known as Brahma Mimamsa, spiritual Mimamsa, given by Sri Vyasadeva. Helps us understand the spiritual portion of the Veda. Then Nyaya Vistara, the elaborate science of logic. Dharma Shastram, the 20 Dharma Shastras. Puranam, the 18 Puranas. So in that way you have 14 divisions of knowledge. Swadharmeshu Sad Achareshu Swadharma Acharane Va Nitaram Ratan Asakta. So these Brahmanas, they were very strictly attached to carrying out sadachar, proper conduct, and in carrying out their respective unique duties, swadharma. Prayachaha, bahulyena, grihinaha, garhastya ashrama yukta. Primarily they were grihastha. They were mostly grihastha. Since the Tirtha he was visiting, Ganga Sagar was in southern Bengal at the confluence of the Ganga and the sea. The Brahmins he met were Bengalis. They were expert in the 14 departments of learning enumerated in the Vishnu Purana. the four Vedas, that six supplements, the Puranas, the Dharma Shastras, the Mimamsa interpretation of the Vedas, and the elaborate science of Nyaya, logic. These are the 14 departments of learning. Five, Varnya Manam Acharam Nitya Naimittikadikam Avashyakam Tatha Kamyam Swargam Shishrava Tat Phalam. He heard them describe regular and occasional duties one is obliged to perform, optional duties for particular desire, and the fruit of these acts, attainment of heaven. Nityam, Agnihotradi. So he learned from them about regular activity, regular duty, Nitya. Daily duty, strictly speaking, such as the daily fire sacrifice, Agnihotra. Naimittika. Naimittika refers to incidental duties, duties which are based on particular incident. Now, there are two types of Naimittika activities. Incidental duties, those which are based on certain events. Parvana Shraddhadi. Some are dependent on particular seasons, particular occasion. For instance, you do this on Purnimas, you do this on Ekadashis, you do this once a year at this particular day, and so on. Another type, Radha. Somebody died on a particular day, and therefore you need to perform the Shraddha ritual. Adi Shabdena Shri Vishnu Purana Adi Ukta Brahma Muhurta Utthana Adi Tat Rupam Acharam Dharma Avashyakam Avashyakartavyam Tatha Kamyam Cha Pratadi Tad Vipre Varnyavanam. He also learned from them. The word Adi here in this verse indicates that he also learned other compulsory duties, as noted in Sri Vishnu Purana and other literature, to get up at the time of Brahma Muhurta and so on. Also, there are activities, Amya activities, optional duties. Overall, in Vedic civilization, prescribed duties are divided under these three categories. Nitya, Naimittika, Amya. Nitya refers to daily compulsory duties. Naimittika refers to non-daily but periodical compulsory duties, or duties which are based on particular incidents, like that example of given, but there are many other examples which are given. For instance, when a child is born, you have to perform certain activities. These are all incident based. When a sannyasi comes to your home, what do you need to do? This is also incidents based. It is an activity which has just taken place, so therefore you need to respond to it through a set of compulsory duties. Then there is another whole set of activities known as Kamya Karma. Kamya Karma, optional duties. Optional duties such as different vows. If you read the Puranas, you come across so many lists of vows, and for each vow there's a different fruit, different result. So these were all described by those Vipras. Achara Prabhavo Dharmo Dharmasya Prabhurakitaha. Dharma is born out of proper conduct. In other words, you develop pious credits only when you engage in appropriate conduct. If you do not if your conduct is not in line with the standard general conduct, sadachar, which has been spelled out in the scriptures, even if you engage in a particular pious activity, you will not attain that piety. Dharmasya prabhurachyutaha. The Lord of Dharma is Lord Achyuta. Iti tatha tad acharavata pumsa jito lokhau ubhau api ityadina prashasyamanam. Then there are other statements that he heard, that for a man who is engaged in saintly behavior, proper conduct, he has already conquered the two worlds. Meaning, in this world, he's going to experience material happiness. And in his next life also, he's going to experience material happiness. So he has secured his current life and his next life. So these are all various activities of karma kanda, which have been glorified in the scriptures. And he heard those statements as described by the Vipras. Tasya phalam cha swarga bhoga sukham. He also learned that when you carry out these activities, then you can attain a place called Swarga, which means he was informed that the adherence to these scriptural rules and regulations will attain the happiness of enjoying the comforts of Swarga. Tamapi yanna dukkhena sambhinnam nachagrastam manantaram abhilashopanītam cha sukam tat swarga vasinam ityadina varnyamanam sushrava ityartha. We heard that the happiness of the heavenly planet, the happiness that is experienced by the residents of Swarga, is not mixed with distress, nor is it overtaken by distress immediately after that happiness is over. And it is brought to the resident of Swarga according to his desire. So these kinds of statements also he heard. Brahmanas initiated into the Vedic rituals are expected to perform certain sacrifices regularly as a matter of duty. Sacrifices like the Agnihotra Yajna, which must be done twice every day at sunrise and sunset. Such Brahmanas may also be obliged to execute other rituals because of special circumstances in their lives. When, for example, they must perform the Shraddha memorial on the anniversary of an elder's death. Besides these obligatory Nitya and Naimittika duties, a Brahmana may also elect to undertake certain sacrifices and vows called Kamya rituals to fulfill personal ambition. Thus, there are three kinds of duties for Vedic Brahmana. The Brahmana from Pragjyotishpur may have heard the local Brahmins of Gangasagar, thus glorify the principles of Dharma. Dharma arises from proper behavior. And the Lord of Dharma is the infallible personality of God. A person who possesses good behavior has conquered both this world and the next. The local Brahmanas may have also glorified heaven as the fruit of Dharma with such words as these. The happiness of the residents of heaven is untainted, never consumed by misery, and it comes to them just as they desire. So, statements similar to these statements. Nana sankalpa vakyasya tad anusthana nishthatam drishtva tatrodita shraddha pravritta shikshita sattai. From the various words they spoke to express that determined vows, he saw how firm the Brahmins were in their intentions to perform these duties. His faith aroused, he began to follow this process according to their instructions. Nacha kevala vachanamatram shrutam tad anushthana paratacha drishta. He didn't just hear those words. He also saw that they were absolutely focused on the activities. those activities which they were talking about. Atra tatra vishwasya pravartata ityaha naneti. That's all. We developed confidence. We began to follow that process. नाना संकल्पस्य गंगा स्नानादि विषयस्य गंगा वाक्य आबाल्याद् युक्तैर्वाक्यैः तस्य आचारस्य अनुष्ठाने इष्टतां दृष्ट्वा. We saw that they were very fixed in their carrying out their particular codes of conduct in accordance with their statements of declaration. They made certain sankalpas, declarations that they would bathe in the Ganga and so on, various statements. So Viprus Tatra Acharya Prabhuta. Then that Praj Jyotishpur Brahmana, the one who had received the mantra, he also began to carry out those activities. Udita, Jata, Shraddha, Vishwasaha, Pritirva, yes. He developed faith, enthusiasm. He developed an affection for their activities, whatever they were doing. Nanu Mahamurkhoyam, Katham Tat Karma Kartum Janatu. How is it? That this great fool, how did he get to know how to carry out these respective duties? Tatra Hatayir. Ganga Tatavasi Prahishitaha Tatabridhim Anushishtaha San. Oh, he was educated. He was trained in the specific regulation of these codes of conduct as taught by the Vipras who were residing on the banks of the Ganga. The Brahmin not only heard the glories of Dharma in theory, but saw exemplars practicing what they preach. He heard them declare their intention, sankalpa, to perform such duties as bathing daily in the Ganga, and then watched as they diligently carried these duties. Although in all his life, he had received no useful spiritual education, these Brahmins were now carefully teaching him the principles of Dharma according to their understanding. Devyagya darato mantram api nityam raho japan tat prabhavan na lebhentah santosham teshu karmasu. Out of respect for the goddess order, he regularly continued to chant his mantra quietly in private, and by the influence of the mantra, he felt no inner satisfaction from those rituals. Tathapi Bhagavad Upasana Prabhavena Tatra Tasya Asakti Na Jata Ityaha Devyagya Iti. Still, by the influence of the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he did not develop an asakti or an addiction or an attachment for their process at that time. That is noted in this verse. Tasya mantrasya japasya prabhava. This is by the influence of that mantra japa. Attraction to worshipping the Supreme Lord defeats attraction to lesser religious practices. So this is the next symptom. If by chanting a mantra which contains Krishna's holy name, one can become indifferent to karma kanda, then naturally, if one properly chants the holy name of Lord Krishna, he will also become indifferent to karma kanda. So first we become indifferent to the pleasures of this world, meaning the pleasures that can be attained in this life, the gross material pleasures. And not just indifferent, he gives it up. You can see that this Brahman, he had given up. He actually gave up everything else and he left home, and then only he started to think about next life and so on. So he already gave up desires for becoming happy in this life, and to such an extent he even gave up family life. In fact, this chapter is called Vairagya. That's the first symptom of development of Hari Bhakti, proper or pure Hari Bhakti. If it comes, then Vairagya is the first thing that comes. And Vairagya means this. If you can, there's no meaning in saying, I developed Vairagya inside, but externally, I'm still addicted to all of these things. Nirvidya Katah Kashim Dadarsha Bahudesha Jan Yatiprayan Janam Statra Dvaita Vyakhya Vivadinaha. He therefore lost interest and went to Kashi, where he saw people from many different regions, especially sannyasis, propounding the theory of monism. Savipraha Nirvidya Tatra Viraktaha Bhutva Kashim Gatah. So that Vipra then lost interest. He became renounced and he went to Kashi, Varanasi. Tatra Kashyam Yatiprayan Sannyasi Bahulan Jananda Darsha. Then he saw mostly sannyasis there. Gangasagar, he saw mostly grihasthas. Now here he saw mostly sannyasis. Bahudesha Janam. Nana Deshebhya Tatra Samagatani Tyartaha. And they had assembled from various places. You know, it was not just only people from Kashi, born and brought up in Kashi or Varanasi. We saw that they had come from various places. Till date, it's like that. Varanasi is like that. Advaita Vyakhya Brahman Nirupanair Vivadashila. So then these people, they were propounding through debates and so on their theory of monism, Advaita Vyakhya. They were describing Brahman, the supreme Godhead, through the theory of monism. I'll read one more verse. Vishveshwaram Pranamyado Gatva Pratimatham Yatim Natva Sambhashya Vishramam Tesham Parshve Chakarasaha. He first offered his obeisances to Lord Vishveshwara and then visited the various ashramas, where he bowed down to the sannyasis, had discussions with them, and rested in their company. Vishveshwara Namanam Kashipur Yadisthataram Sri Shivam Ado Pranamya. So he first of all offered his obeisances unto Sri Shiva, who is the presiding deity of the city of Kashi. That presiding deity of Lord Shiva has the name Vishveshwara, Vishwanath, Vishveshwara. As the deity Vishveshwara, Lord Shiva presides over his sacred abode of Kashi, also known in Sanskrit as Varanasi and known popularly as Benares. Okay, I'll stop with this. Questions? All right, we'll stop with that then. We'll meet again next week.